There's a Chinese proverb that goes something like this. If you're planning for a year, sow rice. If you're planning for a decade, plant trees. And if you're planning for a lifetime, build a school. Good afternoon. My name is Cameron Fox, and in 2015, I was given the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to build a school. That school is Verso. And 5 years after our initial ideas were scribbled down on a piece of paper, we welcomed our first students in August 2020. Of course, like every school around the world, the past 18 months haven't been easy. Opening a new school in the middle of a global pandemic wasn't in our plans. But we've learned how to pivot and adapt. And despite everything that's happened, I'm proud to say that learning has continued. As Verso's founding head of school, I'm really happy to be here today. And my sincere thanks to the Bangkok Post for this opportunity. Unleashing the future is such a powerful statement and very appropriate for the work that we're doing at Verso. As we look at post-COVID worlds, the opportunity to regroup and reset is with us. Speaking as a teacher, a school leader, and a parent, if we are to seriously unleash the future, we need to start with some fundamental shifts in the way we think about school. And so for the next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to share with you a little bit about Verso and how we're building a future-ready school here in Thailand. When I talk to people about Verso, I often tell them it's not just another international school. Verso is actually a solution to a problem that we discovered in 2015 when we first asked the question, how might we build a school of the future in Thailand? So first of all, what do I mean when I say a school of the future? Well, for the past 10 years or so, the momentum around transforming traditional school across the world has grown. The basic argument is this: conventional schools are outdated and they consistently fail to inspire our young people. And our young people are suffering. During our own research, we found 3 change drivers that we thought were compelling reasons for rethinking school. 1, that work is changing. 2, that universities are changing. And 3, how we learn is changing. So let's start with the nature of work. We can see that the global economy is changing fast. Technology is accelerating a whole range of shifts in the job market. So at school, we need to build the actual skills that our global economy needs. These are what we're calling future-ready skills. Skills like being able to analyze a situation from multiple perspectives, or being able to choose the best way to present data in more than one language. Skills like these give learners the capacity to work in a variety of settings and emerging industries. The days of having a single career are over. Most of our young people will have multiple careers in their lifetimes. So we need to prepare them to be much more flexible, adaptive, and creative. Old school doesn't prepare them for this. Next up are the universities. Research is telling us that more and more students are rejecting standard 4-year degrees at traditional universities, preferring instead to earn micro-credentials that are more relevant, more cost-effective, and more valuable when looking for a job. The traditional model of school, university, career is beginning to crack. Students will increasingly look for quicker, more efficient ways to learn, And this means remote and hybrid models of learning will become increasingly attractive. Learning will become much more bespoke and personalized in response to the needs and preferences of the market. And let's not forget, our young people are also hardwired consumers who have grown up expecting to customize all aspects of their lives, from the food they eat to how they buy things, where they go, and now how they want to learn. Which leads on to the third driver of change. Our people are learning differently. The pace of change in all aspects of our future lives means everyone will be constantly reskilling and upskilling. As we live longer too, learning will become a lifelong experience. And this is why we need to train students how to learn. They need to know what just-in-time learning looks and feels like. We need to help them become truly independent, self-directed. They need to be the managers of their own learning journeys. And empowering students with agency and ownership of their learning is a key aspect of the work that we do with our young people at Verso. But it takes time. And sadly, in old school, the curriculum won't allow that to happen. So, looking at the future, we've got some pretty strong reasons for change. The next question is, how do we do it? How do we build a school of the future here in Thailand? And that was our challenge in 2015. And naturally, the first people I brought together to try and figure this out was a group of educators. And that was my first fail. And by that, I mean it was my first attempt in learning. When I looked around the room, I realized pretty quickly that despite the open invitation to think differently about school, we simply couldn't do it. And no matter what we came up with, it still looked and felt like old school, not new school, and certainly not a school of the future. And so, ladies and gentlemen, that was the problem that I brought to the world's leading design and innovation consultancy, IDEO. For more than 40 years, IDEO has been synonymous with Silicon Valley. High-tech innovation, Steve Jobs, Apple, Google, Facebook, etc. Silicon Valley has a mystique, and so does IDEO. Next to designing Apple's first mouse, IDEO is probably most famous for pioneering design thinking. Design thinking is a creative, problem-solving methodology that has gained enormous appeal in recent years, with some of the world's biggest companies using it. And the people at IDEO are also really cool. They're also very talented, very positive, and very diverse. And it's the blend of these things, combined with their design thinking methodology, that makes them incredible problem solvers. And that's exactly what we needed. The designers at IDEO look at problems with a human-centered approach. Our journey with them was an incredible experience, spending 4 months on the road visiting schools across the US, Singapore, Hong Kong, and of course here in Bangkok. We asked lots of questions about the future of education, and we listened carefully to what school leaders and teachers, students and parents were saying. We experienced firsthand how they worked as a team, quickly turning rough ideas into something tangible to test and build from. Their creativity, their optimism, and their fun-loving approach was so refreshing to be around. And slowly but surely, they revealed to us the potential we all have as humans to solve really challenging problems in creative, collaborative ways. And the end result of our engagement with IDEO was a set of deliverables. This included the tangible deliverables like the vision book, but more importantly, the intangible gift of a design-driven DNA. And this is something that no other international school has, and it is Verso's single most important point of difference. Everything else that has emerged over the past 7 years, from the design of our buildings to the way we've developed our curriculum, our people, and our practices, is drawn from this. Verso is design-driven. When our time with IDEO ended, they gave us the inspiration, the tools, and the encouragement to continue designing all aspects of our new school, especially the curriculum. So we put together our own learning design team, and we set out to re-engineer a conventional American curriculum so we could transform it into Verso's own future-ready curriculum. We ensured all the regular academic subjects were still there, but our real focus was on the development and application of skills. Today, we have 141 identified future-ready skills embedded across our curriculum that we assess from early years to grade 12. It really is a powerful example of contemporary learning architecture that we hope will inspire other schools to take a fresh look at what they're doing. A second and equally important component of learning at Verso are our mindsets. Being curious to explore, being inspired to connect, being equipped to transition, and driven to contribute. These represent what we call a designer's mindset, which is something we expect every student at Verso to internalize and demonstrate. To us, being able to think and act like a designer is the hallmark of a Verso education. Which brings me to my final point, how we might just change the world. The world needs to build its creative problem-solving capacity. Very rarely are big problems solved by an individual sitting at a desk. So we need to train our young people to work collaboratively so we can find creative solutions to some of our biggest challenges. Through their experiences at Verso, our students are developing powerful problem-solving techniques. What's really interesting now is getting them to actually apply these skills in real-world situations. And for that to happen, we're starting to look for problems in our own local communities. And then, using a human-centered design process, we want our learners to work collaboratively to find creative solutions to these problems. Recently, we've been inspired by the idea of Verso building a community of citizen designers. We feel it's a concept that matches our mindsets and the design practices our young people are learning. Taking action, even if it's something small, is the essence of citizen design. And by empowering our young people with the skills and opportunities to connect and positively impact the communities around them, can be a transformative experience for young people. So it's my hope that one day, Verso graduates, wherever they go, will continue looking for ways to make a difference. And then perhaps in their own unique styles, they'll be the change agents that our future's going to need. Verso is our response to the growing need to rethink and redesign the school experience. But it's only one solution. And there are many other people out there working hard to do the same. But what's unique about Verso was our decision to use the future as our horizon point and not the past. We also stepped away from the traditional school design process and instead looked to the world of design for a fresh perspective. That decision has set Verso apart. It's also shaped the way that we approach teaching and learning and has inspired us to develop students with the skills and mindsets to change the world. And that's what schools of the future need to do. Thank you so much for listening to me. If you're at all curious about Verso, or if you'd like to find out more, please get in touch. Kapun kap.